Welcome to Ignorance Unleashed with your host Salvatore Cavalieri.
Hey. So today we're going to continue talking for those who want to be property managers, about different topics that need to come up. And those are the topics that you need to keep in your mind when you are prospecting and you're talking to clients, possible clients, right? So here comes a person that you prospected or was referred, or another agent referred that to you, and you're going to look at the property and see what it is. First of all, you need to know what are your standards. What are those? But that will be a different conversation. But this conversation today is going to be about the condition of the property or properties this investor wants to give you. Okay. So you need to ask a lot of questions in order to figure out certain things. And some of the stuff that I learned is through Knocks, the School of Hard Knocks. Okay. So let's talk about the property, and let's talk about the age of the property. Okay. So I was having this week a conversation with a landlord that he was initially was very upset with me, and sometimes landlords, you have to take them with a grain of salt, and you have to be empathetic sometimes, because sometimes they get surprised by repair bills. Okay. And this particular landlord, has an apartment for rent. Recently we put brand new tenants, and very nice new tenants, very caring. It's the kind of tenants that, when you ask them for something, they provide not one, they provide three things. They are on time for everything. They ask questions. They're very polite. It's like people that really want to help. Okay. So this is the kind of tenant that is in there. And then we got a request from them that the washer was not working. Okay. Immediately, so I received a written request through our system that the washer was not working. And I said, well, okay. So I sent an FYI to the owner. The washer is not working. And there were a few other things, minor stuff in the apartment that were not working, like bulbs. The contract says that you need to change bulbs. There's something I will tell them, hey, guys, you need to take care of the bulbs. But anyway, so the washer and all that. So, and the owner replied to me very rudely, that I should go to the unit and check them out because they are destroying the property. Okay. These particular guys, I think that's the least they're going to do. Because I met them. I know who they are. And, you can see when someone has bad intentions. You just can't see it. These people are really working and very caring. Anyway, so I read that email and I said, look at this guy. He's pissed off. He thinks that this guy's broke the washer. So I asked him, Mr. Landlord, tell me, how old is the washer and dryer? Because this particular property, I took over the management of another company that was not doing their job according to this client. Okay. And the complaint of this particular landlord is that the other guys were billing him too much for repairs. Okay, parenthesis, this particular property is about almost 30 years old, maybe less, but about 30 years old. Okay, so it's not a new property, and things break. So it says, but no, that's a new thing. That's a new washer and dryer. Okay, so I send my technician to repair the new unit, and the technician comes back and says, hey, Salvatore, I cannot repair it. What? This is 16-year-old machine. 16-year-old machine. And the guy was complaining that it was new, the owner. And I think also I owe a lot of responsibility to the tenants, so things get done quickly, so they're happy and they renew. Because finding a good tenant is not so easy. Okay? So I communicate that to the owner, and he is already upset. He even questioned the 16-year-old. I send them pictures of the serial numbers and where the manufacturing date it is in there, so he can swallow his own bullshit. Okay, he doesn't know. And then he said, damn it, because it's a washer and washer and dryer combo. So they're attached from factory. So that means that if one fails, you have to fails that cannot be repaired. You need to throw everything out and put a brand new unit. Well, that by itself is almost $1,900 plus installation, plus removal of the other unit. So it became like $2,100 bill. Also, the old range, also the handle broke. He didn't want to fix it. This is how people are going to open the oven. He didn't want to fix that. So how are you going to open the oven? Come on. So the total bill for this thing, it became almost $2,400. And he was very upset. And I said to him, hey, look, you need to put your hand in your heart and look at your property. Your property, it is 30, 35 years old, and the houses are built of paper practically. Well, actually, it's board, and you're going to have things breaking down. And the appliances, as I told him, I am surprised that this particular appliance lasted 16 years. So what is the message for the realtor out there? When you're prospecting and you're finally meeting the property, because first probably you met the owner, probably an off-site location, a coffee shop, something like that, because it's an investment property. So it's kind of rare that the property is vacant when you meet the new owner, that he's looking for your services. You're going to meet them at a coffee shop, somewhere else. So now that I can look at the property really carefully, I told him, hey, look, put your hand in your heart and look at what I told you about a year ago, that these properties are very old, are getting older, and they have achaques, it's called in Spanish, pains, body pains, like humans get when you get old. And you're going to have all those bills. That's the reason I said to him, hey, buddy, you may want to consider selling the unit and replacing that with something newer, especially because of an apartment. In an apartment, you have more risk as a landlord. You have the unit above that can leak on you, or you can leak on someone else. Okay? So I told him that. He was quiet. I don't know. He says, well, there's too many repair things. Dude, that happens because things get old. And that's the reason when you have investment properties, you don't keep them for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years. Typically, you keep them for the next amount of years. You see the value of the property going on. Meanwhile, it goes up. You're searching for the next thing, and then you do a 1031 exchange. I told him, and a group of his partners too. One decided to sell, and it's not, now the market is not helping him, not selling. And the other one is unrealistic on pricing, because there's so much inventory of apartments in this moment in the general area of Orlando. So it's a buyer's market. They can pick cherry the best properties with the best terms that the sellers are desperate to sell. I told them also to sell in a better time, and they didn't listen. They took way too long. Okay. So with that said, you as the manager of the property manager, you gotta know, not only you gotta know what kind of tenants I'm gonna deal with if you didn't put them in, for lack of a better word. Okay. Then you have to meet the owner, and then you have to meet the property. So it's kind of three. It comes in threes. Because the property also has, let's say, a personality, and that kind of stuff. So if the owner is not collaborative, he doesn't help you in these things or complains too much, you need to start thinking if this is the right client for you. Because he commented also, and I told him, he's in the world. The other guys are also complaining that a lot of expenses. They think I'm making money out of this. No. To me, repairs is one of the heaviest and most time-consuming parts of the business, especially when the properties are old. So in my portfolio, I have a bunch of properties that are relatively new, 5 years old. Within that, 7. everything is fine. It's just regular maintenance. Okay, so I said, hey, look, in terms of repairs in general, I cannot send anybody to a property. They have to have the proper insurance, the proper licenses, all the proper stuff. Because every time a mechanic crosses the door, it's a liability. For me, for the mechanic, and for the owner. It's 3 liabilities in there. All right? So they have to know what they're doing. And also, there's a ton of people that they do handy stuff, and most of them are very unreliable if they have licenses. So better not to use them. Much better not to use them. But apparently, some of the landlords, in the desperation for the money, they just want to cut corners. Do not accept that in your business. Do not accept that. There was one guy recently that he complained that the repair of the garage door was $500 and he have done it for $350. And I said, who could have done that for $350 if the price is that? No, it's my friend, if this and that. Well, oh no. Well, your friend has to have the proper license and the proper insurance and proper, you gotta know what he's doing. So you gotta be careful as a property manager when you meet the property, what kind of stuff you're gonna find, because eventually if something breaks in the property, it's gonna be under you. Okay? Under you. Okay? So with that said, interview the property as well, because this is made out of paper. Okay? Make it a great day.